To a looming political issue on this side of the border, with legal pot due in just over 7 weeks, CBC News has uncovered a disturbing trend. Emergency room visits are on the rise from marijuana overdoses. Katie Nicholson shows us how one form of the drug is causing problems, and spoiler alert, it doesn't mix well with booze.
After 15 years pulling pints at this blues bar, Neil McIntosh thought he knew what to expect from this usually older crowd. So when one man in his late 50s stood up and promptly collapsed in front of the stage, he assumed the worst.
You see this scene, you're like, oh God, okay, instantly 911.
Turns out it wasn't a heart attack or a stroke. It was something else entirely.
The paramedics came and it was assessed that, he had eaten an edible and just couldn't handle it.
McIntosh says it's the third time it's happened this year. Toronto emergency physician Dr. Michael Szabo says he's also seeing more cannabis-related emergencies.
We're seeing a lot of people out there who are accidentally ingesting huge amounts of cannabis, and they're not realizing that what they're taking in is excessive.
New numbers provided to CBC News by the Canadian Institute for Health Information show Canadians are increasingly ending up in emergency rooms because of cannabis-related poisoning or overdoses. Over 3 years, the number of visits has nearly tripled in Ontario and nearly doubled in Alberta.
It shows the increase in ER visits.
Dr. Szabo knew the numbers were high, but not this high.
So your first thought when you saw that?
I'm pretty shocked that it's gone up that much. And then I definitely think that those numbers will go up even more.
So how much of a burden on resources is that?
Well, it's a huge burden. They're occupying beds, they're occupying nursing time.
From what he's seen, cannabis edibles are a big part of the problem. They're widely available, but Health Canada confirms they won't be legalized until sometime in the next year, which means they won't be regulated.
I would have liked to have seen public health messaging starting as soon as the bill passed, if not sooner than that.
The Canadian Public Health Association says a quarter of 15 to 24-year-olds are already using cannabis products. But people of all ages would benefit from strong provincial public health campaigns.
For people who perhaps consumed cannabis in their teens, 20 or 30 years ago, they're going to find that cannabis is a very different product today. It may be a much more potent product.
So you put the fat in here, pack this guy with your cannabis of choice.
Chef Charlotte Langley uses this machine to make cannabis-infused cooking oils. It allows her to control dosages down to the teaspoon.
I highly recommend starting light. There's no need to overindulge. It's meant to be gentle.
She has basic advice to anyone cooking with cannabis.
Know where it's coming from, research the strains, find out exactly what's going on with those strains, and then ease your way into trying small quantities.
Age and health and...
Back at the blues bar, Neil McIntosh is concerned bar servers aren't getting any guidance like they do for alcohol.
I'd like to see a little bit of support from the agencies that tell us to manage alcohol and manage people's experience with substances. I'd like to see them reiterate that there's a responsibility of the patron to take care of themselves.
Until then, he fears people are going to learn the hard way, like the man who collapsed in front of the band that night.
So, Katie, what are we looking for? What are these symptoms of cannabis poisoning?
Well, they actually mimic a heart attack. So you're looking for rapid breathing, you're looking for elevated blood pressure and a rapid heart rate. In some cases, you're looking at vomiting. And then there's the psychological symptoms. You want to make sure that somebody is present, that they're not breaking with reality or that they're paranoid or exhibiting anxiety, because that's when someone could actually self-harm if they're very psychologically affected.
Okay, so it's terrifying. What are you supposed to do if either you think you've overdosed or someone with you is overdosing?
Well, Dr. Szabo says make sure if you're going to take any of these products for the first time, tell people what you're doing and make sure somebody is watching you. And then make sure they're watching for those physical symptoms and those psychological symptoms that you're not going to harm yourself. If you start to exhibit these symptoms that are very serious, that's when you need to go to the hospital, especially if you have an underlying health condition, a heart condition where that rapid heartbeat and those other symptoms could actually end up in a heart attack situation.
Okay. Katie Nicholson, thanks very much.